A lot of men cross 60 and make one dangerous mistake without even noticing it. They stop reading the room. Not because they're foolish, because they assume the rules are over. They think attraction has become irrelevant or unfair or shallow, so they stop paying attention to what their body is quietly communicating every single day. And then one day, they wonder why people seem polite but distant, why conversations feel flat, why interest disappears before it even begins. It's uncomfortable to hear, but that discomfort matters. Because most of the physical turnoffs women notice in men over 60 are not really about age, they're about surrender. They're about the moment a man starts wearing neglect like it's honesty. And it isn't honesty, it's a message. It says, I've stopped meeting life halfway. If you're here for truth instead of ego protection, subscribe now, not for me, but for yourself. Because growth starts the moment the man decides he would rather be sharpened than soothed. That decision changes everything. Now here's what makes this conversation so important. A lot of men hear physical turnoffs and immediately think wrinkles, gray hair, a slower metabolism, maybe a softer jawline, maybe thinner hair. They think women are judging the calendar. That's the misconception, and it's the one that keeps men passive. Because if the problem is just age, then there's nothing to do. You get to shrug, you get to quit. You get to call the whole thing superficial and walk away feeling righteous. But here's what this really means. Women are often not reacting to age itself. They're reacting to the visible signs of self-neglect, low vitality, and emotional resignation. That is different, very different. A man can be 65 and deeply attractive because he looks inhabited, present, clean, solid. He moves like he still belongs to his own life. Another man can be 52 and instantly shut something down because he looks like he checked out years ago and never returned. The first turnoff is in the way a man carries his body before he says a word. Collapsed posture, heavy, dragging movement, the look of someone apologizing for taking up space. This is not about standing like a soldier or pretending to be 25. It's about whether your body says, I'm awake or I'm done. Women notice that fast, faster than men think. A stooped frame doesn't just read as older, it often reads as defeated. Should it? Maybe not, but it does. Shoulders rounded forward, chin drifting down, stomach loose because the body hasn't been asked to do anything honest in years, feet shuffling instead of planting. That doesn't create a sense of grounded masculinity, it creates the feeling of disengagement. And attraction struggles to grow in the presence of disengagement. Why does this happen? Because posture is never just posture. It becomes biography, losses, stress, divorce, retirement without purpose, habits of sitting too long, thinking too much, and moving too little. The body starts acting out the story the mind keeps repeating. There's no point. But there is a cost. The cost is that every room starts responding to that message, even if nobody says it out loud. So what do? You stop treating movement like a cosmetic issue. You walk every day with intention. You train balance, legs, back, chest. You open the front of the body, you strengthen the spine, not to impress anyone, to reclaim command. When a man stands upright, the message changes. Not perfect, not young, just here. That matters. The second turnoff is poor grooming and hygiene, especially the kind a man has convinced himself no one notices. They notice the dry skin that hasn't seen water or care, the nose hair, the stained teeth, the stale breath, the neglected nails, the eyebrows going wild, the shirt collar with yesterday still on it, the smell of old cologne trying to fight old sweat. None of this is dramatic. That's the point. Attraction is often shaped by tiny signals long before it is shaped by major features. A lot of men treat grooming as vanity, as if basic care threatens their masculinity. But no, that's confusion. Vanity is obsession with image. Hygiene is respect. Grooming is stewardship. It says, I take responsibility for what I bring into shared space. A woman doesn't need a man to look polished like a model. She needs to feel he is not asking her to overlook his neglect and call it authenticity. And beneath bad grooming, there is often something deeper than laziness. There is grief. A man stops caring after a breakup. after his wife dies, after retirement strips structure from his days, after years of feeling unseen, he tells himself, what's the use? That question becomes a habit. That habit becomes a face. That face becomes a life. Quietly. So simplify it. Trim what needs trimming. Fix what you can fix. Keep your mouth clean. Moisturize your skin. Wear clothes that are fresh. Not just technically clean. Handle the details, because details are not shallow. Details are evidence. They show whether a man is still in relationship with himself. The third turnoff is clothing that communicates surrender, not age, surrender. Men sometimes think women want expensive fashion or a trendy look, and many give up because that feels fake to them. But most women are not looking for trendy. They are looking for coherence, clothes that fit, shoes that aren't dying, pants that don't sag or balloon, colors that don't drain the skin, a jacket that gives shape to the frame, a watchful eye toward proportion and cleanliness. That's it. The wrong clothes send a message, and the message is usually one of two things: I've stopped trying, or I don't know who I am anymore. Oversized windbreakers, shapeless jeans, old sneakers with exhausted soles, shirts from another decade worn like a hiding place. That's not being comfortable. Sometimes that's avoidance. A man disappears into bad clothing because he doesn't want to face what time has changed. But hiding rarely reads as dignity. It reads as drift. Think about the difference between two men at a cafe. Same age, same gray hair, same lines on the face. One is wearing a clean dark polo, proper trousers, decent shoes, a simple jacket, glasses that actually suit his face. The other is drowning in fabric, colors fighting each other, posture collapsing under clothes that look like leftovers from 3 different lives. Which man feels easier to trust? Easier to respect? Easier to imagine beside you? That answer has very little to do with age. The fourth turnoff is the visible inflammation of a life out of balance. The bloated face, the swollen belly that isn't just softness but neglect. The glassy eyes from bad sleep. The ruddy skin from too much alcohol. The slow breath of someone who hasn't challenged his body in years. Again, this is not about chasing a perfect physique. It is not about punish yourself fitness culture. It is about vitality. Human beings are drawn to signs of life. And this is where many men become defensive. They say, so now I have to look like I'm 30. No, but you do have to stop using age as a shield for habits that are draining you. A man over 60 with a leaner waist, steady energy, better sleep, and clearer skin doesn't look young. He looks alive. That is the point. Attraction at this stage is less about youthful beauty and more about whether your body looks like a good place to live. The root cause here is often emotional anesthesia. Men eat to flatten feeling, drink to soften loneliness, stay up too late because nighttime is the only time they don't have to perform strength. Then the body keeps score, always, and the real-life cost is bigger than dating. It changes your confidence in conversation, your patience, your libido, your courage to approach, to travel, to start over, to be seen. A man who feels physically unwell rarely brings emotional steadiness into a room. He brings management. He's managing discomfort, managing fatigue, managing shame. And women can feel that management even if they can't name it. So begin where reality begins. Sleep earlier, walk after dinner, lift something heavy enough to remind your body it still has a job. Reduce the habits that leave you inflamed and dulled. Eat like your future matters. That's not punishment, that's discipline. And discipline, especially later in life, is deeply attractive because it signals self-respect without needing to announce it. The fifth turnoff is the face that tells on the soul. This one matters more than men realize. The bitter mouth, the hard eyes, the permanent tension in the forehead, the expression of complaint, suspicion, or old anger sitting there even in silence. A man may be physically decent looking, well-dressed, even fit. But if his face carries contempt, blame, or emotional deadness, women feel it immediately. They don't experience it as mystery. They experience it as danger, labor, or exhaustion. This is where the conversation gets honest. Some men are not unattractive because they got older. They became unattractive because they let disappointment curdle into identity. Every betrayal, every regret, every unfair thing life handed them settled into the face. And they never processed it. They just wore it. Then they wonder why women feel uneasy. Because a woman meeting you is not just seeing your features, she is reading your emotional climate. Now picture a different man. Same decade of life, same scars. He gets up early, makes his bed, stretches his back while the coffee brews. He answers messages when he says he will. He laughs easily, not loudly. His apartment is simple and clean. His clothes fit. His hands are steady. He knows loss, but it has made him gentler, not more self-pitying. He does not beg for attention, and he does not punish the world for not giving it sooner. When he enters a room, there is no performance, just presence. Calm eyes, direct speech, quiet energy. He does not need to prove he is a good man. His life already suggests it. That archetype is not fantasy. He exists. And the reason he is attractive is not that he has perfect skin or broad shoulders or a full head of hair. It's that everything physical about him is aligned with one inner fact. He has not abandoned himself. That is the perspective shift. The so-called turn-offs are not random flaws women cruelly pick apart. They are often visible symptoms of a deeper surrender men have normalized. And if that's the bad news, here's the good news. Symptoms can change fast sometimes. Not all at once, not magically, but enough to alter how you feel in your own skin within weeks. Start with one honest mirror, not the cruel mirror, the accurate one. Ask yourself, does my body look like I care about my life? Does my face look like I'm at peace with being here? Do my clothes suggest self-respect or retreat? Do I smell clean? Do I move with intention? If the answer stings, good. That sting is information. Use it, because the real failure is not aging. The real failure is acting as if your influence is over while you are still breathing. It isn't over, not even close. A man can become more attractive in his 60s than he was in his 40s if he replaces chaos with order, resentment with self-command, and neglect with care, not because he learned tricks, because he finally became congruent. So no, this is not about impressing women by becoming somebody else. It's about becoming readable again, clear, grounded, solid. The version of you a woman can look at and think, this man has lived and he still chooses life. That is rare, that is magnetic, that is felt long before it is explained. And if something in this hit a nerve, don't retreat into shame, move, trim the excess, buy the shirt that fits, book the dental cleaning, throw out the dead shoes, walk with your chest open, sleep like your body is worth recovering, release the expression that has been guarding an old wound for too long. You do not need to become younger, you need to become more fully owned. Because your next chapter will not be decided by your age, it will be decided by your standards, by what you tolerate from yourself, by whether you keep hiding behind time or finally stand up and say, no, I'm still building this man. If you want more of that kind of clarity, subscribe and join this community. Not a community of excuses, noise, and ego. A community built on discipline, truth, and growth. And if you're ready, start today, not by chasing approval, but by becoming a man whose presence makes approval irrelevant.